Welcome to the Journey of Now with myself, Karis.
And Nick.
And together we run our practice called the Journey of Now.
A blend of bespoke coaching, human design, and medicine for the soul.
So this season we're focused on a non-BS approach to spirituality, self-development, and expansion of the self in the most holistic and sustainable ways possible.
Helping you cultivate presence, step into your power, and dive into possibility. Welcome to your Journey of Now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Journey of Now. This is Nick hollering at y'all from a pillow on the floor.
Are we going to go with that?
Yeah, that's what we're going with today.
Okay.
That's what's happening today. It's happening. We're sitting on the floor. We've got pillows. We in our PJs. This is a serious conversation. So we want to just meet you with where we at and drinking tea. So if you're a clankety clank, that is the teaspoon swirling around.
Or if you hear a very loud slapping sound.
That's Karis.
No, it's not. It's you.
All right. So today we are going to just catch up with what's been happening in our space and some of our interesting plant medicine escapades throughout December.
You make it sound like something naughty that we did.
It was.
It
was.
Like it's something. Oh, it's a little escapade.
Well, let's just use work language. Our plant medicine journey where we discovered aspects of ourselves that.
So our intention with this podcast today is really just to dive into the integration of the plant medicine journeys we went on last year, how we ended off the year, how we began the year, and also how it's sitting in our system now that we've had a chance to actually allow it to integrate. Yeah, really just to see how the medicine has sat in our system now that we've had a chance for it to integrate and to see what it's like in our daily practice of life and how things have affected it.
So essentially the journeying with all these different plant medicines, starting from mushrooms, moving to Cambo, and more recently Bufo, which is something that we're going to unpack in this episode.
We'll tell you all about what it is.
We'll dive into that, what it is and all that fun stuff. But essentially it's, like Karis, mentioned the other day, with the journey that we have undergone as individuals, it feels like we actually did the work backwards. So, and I personally believe that it was the right way for us. And it was just, finding ways to regulate the nervous system, working through, deeply embedded beliefs or paternal patterning or navigating shame, guilt, self-worth, and all these different experiences of self that when there's consciousness that arises or awareness that arises of these patterns that are maybe not serving your highest good and has been reflected in your actions or through other people, and doing something about it, that in itself is a journey that all of us are experiencing in some way, shape or form. Except in our case in particular, just for context, we really went into it. We went into the trauma, continued with the inner child work, dove into this metaphysical, spiritual, self-help, self-inquiry path.
I feel like we got really stuck in that, in that like healing matrix of things.
Yes.
Because the thing is, it's so easy to get stuck in there because of our natural human condition. I find that we want to run towards things that, like, things that feed our inner complainer, feed that illusion.
Feed the victim.
Yeah, feed the victim for all of that stuff. So healing, or constantly finding something that you need to heal or
finding
fix
a fire,
yourself.
Finding a problem, finding something
exactly
wrong with you. Yeah.
I'm not saying don't go and heal your trauma. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm just saying, there needs to be a balance with things. You're a human being having an experience. You're also a spiritual being having a human experience. And just finding a balance between, how do I move through the things that have happened in my past, but also how do I let them go so I can be free of the stories that I've attached myself to, because that isn't me. So what is me?
So, I mean, that was one of the existential questions that we had, like, who am I? And I'm
who
sure
is God? What is
who
God?
is God? Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? The thing is, you start your journey with asking those questions, and then you uncover all of this toxicity or black gooey tar that you have to work through your system, just to clear things out, so you can allow space to cultivate that awareness and allow these new things in. Now, recently, over the last 2 years or 3 years, as we've done more research and into plant medicine, we've seen the bridges or the gaps that are bridged through various types of medicines. And there's a show on Netflix, if you've never really looked at plant medicine, or maybe you have a limited idea or a very staunch perspective on those type of medicines, it's How to Change Your Mind.
Yeah, it's based on the book by Michael Pollan.
Yes, so, and that I would really recommend. Go watch it. There's four episodes in there, and it would give you such a beautiful foundation, and possibly stir up a bit of interest in, like, wow, there are other ways of creating mental emotional change within the self through utilizing ancient medicines that have been around us for however long.
Well, in the book that I was reading, they speak about how DMT was essential for our evolution with the dinosaurs and mammals and all of that stuff. So, I mean, it's been there, and it's a part of us. It swims within us. It's a part of our cells. It's a beautiful thing, and people have stigmatized it. And obviously, I do understand where that stigma comes from, because it has been abused and used recreationally to a point where it's like, is this actually medicine or is it just a drug? So I do believe truly that it is, like, these things are plant medicines, but the intention that you use it in, that's what makes it a medicine or a drug. So it is not the thing itself that is bad. It is the user's intention. And this comes with anything. Context. This comes with anything. Yeah. I mean, it can be even alcohol, or like the food that you're eating, or the sex that you're having, or anything.
Scrolling on social media.
So at the end of the day, it is, what are you considering a drug and what are you considering medicine? The only difference is how you are using it and your intention. So
just closing on that thought of, why we held off on the plant medicine. Number one, we didn't really have the access that we have in the space that we are living now in South Africa.
I don't feel like it was available to us when we started.
It wasn't really available.
We didn't know where to even start with it. Like, who did we speak to?
What would the intention be behind it if we had utilized it? We were unaware. We just weren't in a space where we could see, a use case that would be supportive or conducive for the path that we were on, reclaiming our mental, emotional, and physical space within ourselves. And basically, we were under construction. Like, if I were to explain or share a mental image, it was a construction site. Both Karis and myself, we'd gone through, multiple, demolitions. There'd been a couple of wrecking balls that had gone through the previous, versions, and we were under construction. And it was a thing of, you're building your new home, being yourself, and sometimes you outsource and you acquire a really good contractor that can assist you with, or an engineer or an architect that can give you frameworks and strategies and perspectives and insight within yourself until you're able to find that within yourself.
100%. I mean, I would also agree that was also waiting for the right teachers as well, people who are really in integrity with the medicines that they're offering. And I'm very grateful we did find the people that we did, because they truly do live their medicine. And that goes for the practitioners who were in the mushroom ceremony and the camber ceremony, or like all of it. Because I mean, we've come across some people and teachers,
interesting people,
you are not. And so the thing is, this is where your sense of discernment comes in, and you really tuning into your intuition and that gut feeling. Because I was saying to Nick, I mean, like 9 times out of 10 it was a no with the people that we came across. So it's all to do with like your own internal sense of timing and what the next right step for you on your path is. So with everything, check in with your system, check in with your internal guidance system before saying yes to anything. Because for both Nick and I mean, this really started going, we were talking about it last night, the cult of wellness, and we'll talk about that in probably a whole other podcast. But what is wellness outside of the cult of wellness? Because I'm not sitting here having kombucha and collagen and meditating for 5 hours a day.
Are you not? I don't know how we can stay together.
Regulating my nervous system for majority of the time. You need to do breath work
right now and meditate for 15 minutes.
Like, you know, I love the tools that come with those modalities, but fuck, I'm a human being, and I've got 2 incredibly boisterous kids who are very active, and I am doing my best to also...
And fucking noisy.
As they should be. But I mean, this is the thing, you know, unless you are living in a completely isolated environment. We live in a modern age where you're going to have like day-to-day stresses. So how can you integrate those modalities in a way that feels sustainable to your life instead of it taking away? And this is what I really have loved about this journey into plant medicine, specifically like for myself and my own journey, because I felt that it was very empowering. It's not you don't need a guru or it's nothing coming to save you. I mean, you're actively choosing to step into this, trusting the medicine, and it shows you exactly who you are and where you come from. And you have to sit and integrate that, and it shows you the other stuff, you know, the things that are you, the things that aren't you. And so I think it was a really beautiful like visual, physical, and transcendent way to see and feel that in your system, and very empowering. Because I mean, in this wellness world, it's a thing of, you're not healthy unless your gut is healed. You're not healthy unless you're completely regulated all the time, or you're taking ice baths and all of that, or you're not healthy unless you are this glowing spiritual being who's embodied their human design and is only speaking in that
in work lingo.
But like, I mean, it's, I mean, good for you if that's your vibe.
If that makes you happy.
If that makes you happy.
I'm happy for you.
But I'm looking for really practical ways to be well and really tap into and hone in on that vibration of vitality and be connected to that pulse of life without feeling that you need a healer or that you need this or you need that. It is a way of working with your body and your system and your awareness and trusting the things that are right for you. If it is plant medicine, if it be it plant medicine, be it whatever else you choose.
Look, to share, you know, our blueprint before we actually dive into the Bufo ceremony and you know what our next steps are in the journey of now, and on, you know, maybe touching on some of our, you know, personal ventures through the coming seasons. Going back to like what we started with, it was I think it was firstly we saw lots of pitfalls in our relationship, which triggered us into recognizing the need to heal our inner child, which then moved us into a space of adjusting our mindset that was deeply, stuck in a very unhealthy, egoic way of perceiving ourselves and reality and life around us.
Yeah.
And from that, we then moved into somatic release, which was pillow bashing, screaming, intense crying, and repeating those three, processes time and time again, day after day, down to affirmations where you'd fall asleep at night.
With the affirmations in Abraham Hicks.
And then moving into doing EFT for like 2 hours a day. If you're not accustomed to EFT, it is the emotional freedom technique. So you basically tap on your meridian points. There are white papers on it. It is used in psychology as well. So yes, it is accepted by the westernized world. So please have a look at that. Really interesting.
It was breath work. Then it was
breath work. Then it was we did the whole Wim Hof thing, those different protocols, whilst understanding and deepening the trauma and like understanding how that ties into maybe attachment styles and love languages. And then we waltzed into neurolinguistic programming and human design, which really took everything to the next phase.
I still use human design.
We still use like a lot of these things. It's just when that cycle comes in, and the difference is it's not necessarily that the tools have changed. It's the perspective that has been cultivated through the will and the continuous choice to be better, to improve, to expand, to embody and embrace the uncertainty. And with that being said, that is, the bedrock and the foundation of why we felt that at this now moment, looking and experiencing and diving into, essentially medicinal biohacking through, medicinal mushrooms and be it LSD and be it...
it was microdosing.
It was microdosing.
Can
LSD,
you just add that?
Let's just add that, because we've been playing with, been acting as guinea pigs just as we've been navigating that. And just, venturing and experimenting on ourselves so, we can have discussions with our clients or just people that are curious about, how does this work? How does this affect you? How has this, created these perspective, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual shifts in your reality?
But also we've been interested in it for a very long time.
Yes.
We've been doing the research.
And I'd even like to say that the differentiator, other than just feeling like we've built up that base, is hasn't just been a quiet curiosity. It's felt like a calling to now step in to a new space. It's kind of like you've been on the one you've done the road trip, you had the full circle moment, you unpacked a bit, you were at home for a bit, you got settled, and it's like, okay, ready for the next one. And it's not that you weren't aware of the map and you didn't have Google Maps and you didn't have the kit. It's like, okay, I get to take the best of all my new shiny stuff, or the stuff that I know works for me, and I get to take this on another journey with a different vehicle or two or three and experience life and myself in a whole new way.
And so this is where these mind-altering substances come in, because what I'm hearing you say is that the last 8, 9, 10 years
10 years
have been 10 years
10 years of consciousness,
have been a pilgrimage up until this point, and it's been
and that being said, before, it was it's for me personally, it started off with spirituality. It was a spiritual pilgrimage. And I just didn't find the words, and I didn't have the context, I didn't have the linguistics or the understanding. It was, going to psychologists or, having to take antidepressants, or it was just, there were just so many interesting experiences prior to that I suppose started to create the discomfort and those question marks. And now looking at everything full circle with this perspective, it's like, wow, if anything was different, this moment wouldn't be as sweet as it is right now.
Exactly, we're right on time.
Right on time.
And so, I mean, I would even say, you know, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Continue.
Okay, just pause for a sec.
Do you want to go get the charger quick?
I think we should now go from like, okay, so we talked about Cambo, and we're gonna, you know, we talked about our Cambo experience, and today we're gonna dive into what Bufo is.
Yeah.
So with all of that being said, today we're gonna just unpack what Bufo is, and Bufo has been our latest journey. And just to give you a bit of context, so we're staying in the Garden Route here in South Africa, and we left early on a Friday morning. I was coaching a couple of clients. We left late and we had 2 kids in the car because it was school holidays, and then we ventured forth for about an hour and 10-minute drive to a place that was in between, you know, Plet and George.
What was the name of it? The Never Ending Story.
Never Ending Story,
really
yes. Beautiful place.
And we were invited by the same person who we did our Cambo ceremony with, and it was Sarah, the most incredible practitioner. I trust that woman with my life.
No, exactly. And it was rather it was rather interesting just trying to get there, because initially we took the wrong turn, and then
not to mention what the road looked like.
The road that we didn't want to go on, and I said when I was taking the wrong turn, I was like, I'm so happy we don't have to go on that road. And it was that road that we had to venture on, because
it was like uphills and like it was literally bumps.
And we have a Honda Jazz.
It's not a 4x4.
It is a 4x4 now.
Okay, but like
for the last couple of years, you know what? That car's done things that you know, 4x4s and, you know, Range Rovers and Hiluxes and all these big.
They wish
they could do it. They wish.
It was a lot of praying to get to our destination is what next.
But we got there. We got there with 2 kids, who thought it was a lot of fun, and so we got to this beautiful farm. Entered through these gates. There were just these incredibly massive, I think it was pine trees, if I'm correct, as you were driving through the entrance.
The forest and the mountains.
Yeah, it was stunning.
Background, the view.
And we got there, and Karis took the kids, and I basically went in with Sarah. And before
what was your intention with?
Well, I just wanted to say, before you actually go in, you need to be wearing the right clothing, and you're supposed to wear a white and a red, and I was wearing black. Black on black on black on black on black on black.
Maybe I should have done that as well, because I had white on, but you had a
we
wonderful
had
experience.
polar opposite experiences.
I did not have a wonderful experience.
So just to give you a bit more context with Bufo. So Bufo alvarius is a psychedelic toad. It is a medicine that is basically looked at as an underground treatment for things like depression. The experience itself lasts for less than 30 minutes. And I also
it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, I also just want to put a disclaimer in here. It is illegal in the US.
It's probably illegal, yeah.
Yet it has been used to heal for centuries. So to give you more context, Bufo is a powerful and potent psychedelic that comes from the Colorado River toad, also known as the Sonoran Desert toad. Bufo alvarius is a medicine that helps you put your ego aside and allows you to connect to the divine source, God, the universe itself. Interestingly enough, 5-MeO-DMT, which is basically what the molecule is, which comes from the venom sacs of this frog, which I believe you said it lays dormant for about 9 months.
Yeah, it's in the cave
underground.
Sarah said, you know, I mean, it lives in the cave systems underground for 9 months before coming out to reproduce and to feed, which I think is beautiful, because it's really like gestating in Mother Earth for that long. It's incredible medicine when you think about that metaphor, you know. So
Well, especially if you're having the experience that you had. And the venom itself, as mentioned before, it's 5-MeO-DMT, and this is secreted from the glands. And 5-MeO-DMT is a natural occurring entheogen and a potent psychedelic. So in terms of the chemical structure itself, dimethyltryptamine, this is the substance that is dehydrated into crystals before smoking.
So another thing to note, if you are looking at Bufo or any 5-MeO-DMT, is that you do get synthetic versions of this medicine. And so this is why it's very important to look at the practitioner and the people that are facilitating this medicine, just so that you know that you are getting the real thing versus the synthetic version, because they're going to do very different things.
Yeah, and typically this medicine itself, in general, it's used for healing or for spiritual purposes. As mentioned before, it's just to help move the ego aside.
Yeah,
and allow you to connect to something greater than the self.
So how Sarah explained it is that you go home, so you connect with source. You go back to where we came from. So some people describe it as going back to heaven, or meeting with God, or seeing themselves. Whatever you choose to call it, or you go back there and you connect with that sense of oneness, and it can be really beautiful. The other thing that I wanted to note is there's this really cool study done by the National Institute of Health and or the NSI, and they speak about how there were 162 participants that took part in the study with Bufo, and they had PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and 80% of people were completely cured. And I just thought
that was after one treatment.
That was one treatment. I mean, can you imagine being freed? If I think about the weight of my anxiety, PTSD, and depression, and how long they stayed with me, no matter... I mean, you can do as much breathwork as you want. There are certain things that are going to stay like almost like a captor in your system. And so, I mean,
it's like in your cells.
Yeah.
Cellular memory.
And so, I mean, the somatic experiencing therapy, all of those things help. But I just feel like this is such a beautiful way of nature going, hey, let me just help you get over the edge a little bit. Let me just push you over a little bit. Do you just need an extra hand? And so, I mean, 30 minutes and freeing you of something that you've carried with you possibly since your teens, which was that for me.
And you're able to not necessarily just find relief, but actually transcend that and move beyond that and integrate
find freedom from that. This is what this whole journey of plant medicine has been for me. It's been like the medicine of liberation, being liberated from the stories of my mind and of being separated from who and what I truly am versus what I thought I was, if that makes sense. When I read that, I just thought, how incredible, and why is nobody talking about this? But I also know that Western medicine doesn't really want people to be well, because there's no money in it. So that's a whole other topic. We're not going to go into that. So I just wanted to say, after one use, these people never had to go back to medication so far, and were completely free of that.
Yeah. And it's really empowering when you do find, that nature really is on your side.
Yeah.
And that if you can get onto nature's side and see nature for what it's trying to do, it's help you find that, mental, emotional, physical homeostasis within mind, body, and soul or spirit. That's what everyone's looking for. Their own version of that.
So I also wanted to note with Bufo, it is the most powerful entheogenic on the planet. It's the most powerful psychedelic as well, or one of the most. And so if you have any psychosis or bipolar or schizophrenia, then I would not venture into doing this. But in all times, with anything, please use your own sense of discernment with it.
And do your research.
Yeah.
There is a blog post on our website that dives in a little bit more into the specifics of the nature of the ceremony, what Bufo is, with additional resources if you are interested in exploring this, as well as if you're wanting to get in touch with the practitioner or facilitator that we worked with. So yeah, coming back to just before the ceremony, so dressed in black, and you asked me what my intention is, and
what was your intention?
What was my intention? And for me, I genuinely had so much fear around death, and as a kid, that is something that I experienced a lot thereof, and it was, like one of those big elephants in the room, monkey on my back.
So when your father passed away, or when your grand passed away?
I think it was just all of it, just a whole mixture. Because it wasn't just that, I was very close to a lot of death. Those first 7 years of my life, there was a lot of death. It wasn't just
your
them. It was
as well,
and more close family members, and a lot of funerals, a lot of funerals, and also just seeing it like firsthand. I mean, it was intense, and it was something that was always just at the back of my mind, like really something that I was absolutely terrified of, which is something we all get to experience once at least in this life. Some more than others. Yet that was the intention, was just freeing myself of this fear of death. And I think when we are truly fearful of death, and we have yet to meet it for what it is, just the change of form of who and what we are as we venture on our next journey, we fear life. We fear living. We fear asking for what we want. We fear asking for big things. We fear taking big action. We fear our potential. We fear possibility. We fear how great we can be.
And then on the same spectrum, we also fear death so much because there's no sense of control,
But that's the thing. So once you've mitigated, I'm not saying from a human level, but once you have conscious awareness of what death is, and your own way, your own perception, your own interpretation thereof, you can transcend beyond it and see, a whole new way of living is available to you through a shift in your perspective, through not playing small. And I mean, those are all those things that I've said there. I've said that rather loosely, but over the last few years, those have been really big themes in my own life, and I have come full circle with many of them. But this was just taking it to another level. This was like, you did high school maybe, and you could have gotten a diploma, but this was like getting your doctorate.
Oh my God.
With another doctorate, and it was just there are no words.
Well, that's what we're trying to put it into words.
Yeah, trying to put it into words, yeah.
Even though, what, I still feel like the medicine is so active. Like I go to sleep these days and I feel like it starts reactivating. Like I did some Kundalini yoga the other day and it was like, woo, this is wild. Just because you feel it start reactivating in your system. But I mean, back to your journey, I know that you were someone that really struggled with panic attacks for a long time. And whenever you had a panic attack, I remember you always saying, we need to go to the hospital because I'm having a heart attack.
We used to. Yeah, when we were still staying in Pretoria, we rushed to the hospital at like 2-3 in the morning. I was still, based construction and managing projects and all that fun stuff. And it just wasn't working. My system was not well versed in managing stress and understanding that you can, regulate your responses. So yeah, that was a big thing. And every time I thought I'd die, I'd be dying, and this was the end, and I'd be losing absolutely everything, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So coming back to this moment of when I popped my shoes off and everyone left and you guys went on a hike, it was quite a beautiful day, quite cloudy, and we just sat down, and before we started, I think Sarah obviously did the same with you. We did some grounding breaths, and some eye gazing, which was rather intimate, and just it was kind of I think the word would be soulful resonance. It was just recognition of the spirit of oneself being there, and making this decision with you and saying, hey, this is what we are doing. It was the human and the being making a decision with one another, co-creating through this choice and intention. And basically, it's the dose itself. So as mentioned, it's derived from the dried venom, which is secreted from the toad itself, and essentially the crystallized 5-MeO-DMT is vaporized through heat, and you then inhale it. So you exhale, you get all the breath out of your body, and then you inhale it through small breaths, and you hold it. You're not allowed to take any other air in until the facilitator.
I wanted to just say quickly, just to add on to the DMT and the 5-MeO-DMT, just the chemical thing, just quickly, it's not a long thing, just to add on to it. But basically, like, all mammals have DMT and 5-MeO-DMT in our blood, our lungs, our spinal fluid, our brain, and our nerves through our nervous system. So when we die, a massive amount of this is released through our gut and our nervous system. And so with 5-MeO-DMT and DMT with the Bufo frog, so it's squeezed through the venom glands, and in the physical form, like, it's crystals, but they're also tryptamines or neurotransmitters. So in other words, they are crystals that process the energy of consciousness and awareness. And it isn't an accident that the forms of DMT, that we have these forms of DMT in our nervous system. And it's what allows us to process the energy of consciousness or the conscious experience of being in our bodies. And this is what allows us to experience higher forms of consciousness and perception. And I really love if you look at the chemical compound of what DMT and 5-MeO-DMT in that form is, and this is why, we keep reiterating it's nature, it's a part of us, and to just trust the helping hand that it's giving you. So, but continue, I'm listening.
So essentially, the venom itself, the crystallized venom, is vaporized through heating. So you inhale it after exhaling and getting all the air out of your lungs. You inhale it with small, in-breaths. So it's basically like a sucking motion, and you hold it in your system until the facilitator gets a sense of what, if you've taken enough. The typical dose is 50 milligrams.
I didn't get the full dosage. You got a double dosage.
And then it is... you take that in, and to try and explain to you what happens next, it's just like you kind of melt into consciousness.
So she pushed you back on the mattress.
Move back onto the mattress. There's this beautiful music. It's just how do you put into words, when you literally leave your body and shoot back to source and have that experience of bliss and peace and a deep sense of satisfaction, which feels as if it would never end. It's just this never-ending sense of ease and joy and bliss. And
so you spoke about being surrounded by a lot of this white light.
Yeah,
it was very
white light, and just that oneness, that unity.
Oh my God, you and I had like opposite experiences in this.
So essentially, I mean, to give you like a practical description, it's as if that divine spark that is, or soul or consciousness that resides in each and every single living thing, it's just returning to that greater consciousness, that awareness, God, the divine, universal source, just moving back into that space. And it's like being given a spiritual, soulful hug. And when I was starting to come out of the experience, there was just this, small part of me that was just rather excited to actually come back to the realm of the living.
I remember you saying you're so excited to be a dad.
Yeah, again. and I think that was the most profound thing, and simple yet profound, because it goes back to what I said a little bit earlier, which was just, when you are fearing death and you experience that death, and essentially it can be an ego death, a physical death, whatever resonates, or relate, or whatever you relate to, it's essentially the same thing. You have a new lease on life. You have a new perspective. You have a new understanding of yourself. The way you make choices and you make decisions will forever be changed, because the foundation of your reality
has forever changed,
has completely shifted.
And the saying of like, you can't unsee what you've seen. That's exactly it. And I wanted to just say, I mean, something that you spoke about for a long time afterwards was your experience of death itself, because your heart stopped. And I'd love for you to dive into that if you...
Well, my heart stopped and then it unstopped.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me personally, there was this full physical reset. There was a moment as I was now venturing into this space that I could feel it. It wasn't just, me leaving the body, or this awareness leaving the body. It was like the body actually stopped. I could feel my heartbeat literally just stop completely. And it wasn't scary. It was...
There was no sense of panic.
Nothing.
So you walked into your worst fear.
Yes, and I walked in with
fear.
open arms. Yes, essentially.
So I think that's really beautiful.
And as I was coming back, and I mean, this could have been, a minute. This could have been
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
There's no sense of time when you're there.
There's no sense of time. But I could feel the as I was coming back into the body, or there was enough awareness that had ventured back, that I could feel at a point there was nothing, and then there was just a subtle, like there was a double, like dip dip, and then everything kind of started up again, and I couldn't feel that I was taking a breath of fresh air, but I could feel that something was moving up and down. It didn't feel like I was breathing, because you're exceptionally dissociated as well from like the form change. It was just it was incredible. And as I was coming back, that's when I was given the second dose. And
like, I keep forgetting. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I got a second
you mention this, I'm like,
why would you be given a second dose? I have another one. You're fine. Then I had the second dose, and that was just to help with the integration and make sure that all of me was
So you didn't go all the way up there again?
Plugged in, tuned in. No, the second time, no.
Okay, so
I actually don't think that's what the system wanted. It got what it needed. It was more for integration, a deeper integration, as I moved back. It was just, that was it in a nutshell. There are no words unless you've kind of walked that path, be it through this or just in life in general. You've maybe experienced something similar.
That's the other thing, on the one hand, that's why it's important to really check in with the practitioner that's using this, because if anything goes wrong, it can go seriously wrong. And so just really trusting yourself, the medicine, and the practitioner you're working, because it's three things that work holistically together.
And sometimes you're going to get a no. So this, to be honest, I mean, this was never on our list. And Bufo was brought up on that day we were actually doing the podcast on Canva. And when it was said, you said you had like full...
And immediate, my body was like, yes. And my mind was like, fuck no, I don't want to do this shit.
This sounds intense.
And then we did the muscle testing with it. And like my body was like, yes. Everything in me was like, please go and do this. But my mind was like, terrified. But I mean, we'll get into my experience with it. But I just wanted to also say, you know, with entheogens, it's really serious business. And like I just want to reiterate, it's not something that you should take lightly. It really takes a lot of dedication, an amount of bravery, and the personal perseverance to actually like walk this path, because it's not an easy path. You know, when you look at overcoming the illusion and the fears of your ego, and then really accepting your true nature as like a created being, it can be one of the biggest challenges that you can ever embark on as a human being. And so just honoring that, it's like, okay, cool. Because I mean, you're literally disintegrating any version of yourself or any idea of who you are, and any version of where you are in control. It is not an easy thing to face. And so it's something that you really need to be ready for. So what I do love about it is that with entheogens and working with Bufo, it puts you immediately and directly in touch with your own energetic nature without any intermediaries. And if you think about reality as a mirror, and the other individual mirrors walking around, and everyone else is distorted by our own, like their own egos and fantasies and like their illusions. So in other words, working with others to find clarity in yourself is challenging, because there's no real guarantee that those people that you're working with are clear within themselves.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you work with a guru, it can help you deepen your meditation. But if that guru is filling you with ideas of like karma and reincarnation and subtle energy bodies and astral projection, then you're working with a distorted mirror, let alone trying to deal with your own distorted mirror. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's like information overload. Like when you're taking in new information to that degree, that is literally flipping, like that foundation that was mentioned earlier, you're flipping that on its head. You're creating cracks in that foundation because you're wanting to rebuild. You're wanting to find things that resonate with you. You're busy doing so many different things at once. You're going to be a busy mess.
And so, like, these medicines really cut out the middleman, so to speak. So it puts you directly in touch with yourself as God or the creator being. And the only distorted ego mirror you have to deal with in that context is your own.
Exactly.
And
that's kind of what led us to, you know, the work that we are looking at. Not looking at, that we are introducing now. More thereof. And it's really helping individuals prep, then go through these experiences, and then have support
to integrate
this over a couple of months, because it's, you know, like you say, it's instead of like, you know, tweezing hair by hair,
just wax the whole.
You're waxing the whole thing.
Everything off
at once, and it's like, holy shit! Or it's that layer, or that portion, and it's a large chunk, and it's like, wow, you've now got, you know, very red, swollen, possibly bleeding skin, and now, are you just going to continue life as normal?
No, you
are you
need
going
some
to go
aloe
bathe
vera,
in the sun?
you need some chamomile.
Are you going to go jump into, you know, are you going to go, you know, do a treatment on your skin where you're going to peel a couple more layers off that? No.
Let's not.
No, you're not. You're going to tend to it. And the same way in which you would tend to a wound or tend to a child, it's that same, you know, curiosity and inquiry, self-inquiry,
gentleness as well,
and compassion. self-compassion.
And so, I'm really excited about it, and it's called the Integration Experience, and we will be hosting you for a week, and really diving deeper into these plant medicines. And it's not just Bufo, so there's other plant medicines that you'll firstly start with, and then move to the other one. Should it be
in alignment with you, and if the facilitator says this makes sense for you,
because you first have to journey with Cambo before you journey with Bufo, and then she sees how you do with that, and then
take it from there.
And so moving from there, it's having, after that big week, it's like, what do you do with all these breakthroughs? How do you unpack all of this? Because there's a lot of information. Like with Bufo, it's so fast. Like you go through so many things in that short amount of time frame. So it's essentially, if you take the intensity of ayahuasca, because Bufo is essentially 5 to 7 times stronger than ayahuasca. But if you take the intensity of ayahuasca and shove it into like 5 to 10 minutes, that is what the experience with Bufo is. So
but I suppose it's two very different medicines, because Mother Aya, puts you through the ranks for like 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, it's a different.
It's a very different experience.
I would actually say that ayahuasca is more like mental. And obviously you're going to have like massive breakthroughs emotionally, but it does require a lot of mental fortitude, whereas with Bufo, it's very much more with your soul and your emotions. But it
think of it like pressing the reset.
Yeah, but like on everything.
Yeah, life reset, like rebirth, reborn, renewed, restored, with the backup data.
Yeah. So, just very quickly, with my experience, I went through the opposite end of it. So for myself personally, my intention with Bufo was really to heal my physical vehicle and to become a master of that. I'd been very ill with pretty scary health issues over the last couple of years, starting with SIBO and then my autoimmune, which was lichen planus and lichen sclerosis. And obviously, I'll dive into everything else at a later stage, but I'm still unpacking my Bufo experience. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's still pretty active in my system at the moment. So, still finding a way to encapsulate my experiences. It might come in a few months, and when I'm ready to share that, then I will. But for me, when I went in, I felt like I went where Nick was like shot into the heavens. I felt like I was in the underbelly. Like I was put into, it was very physically painful, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. But I will say, I think it was the medicine that I needed, and I was freed from a lot of the physical ailments that I did have, in a big way, in a massive way. Like it was life changing for me. I feel like I got my life back. Whether it was through the illusion of how much control I gave or how much power I gave to what I was moving through, and then once like the shackles of that was broken, or whether it was just the decision to actually be well, whichever of those. I know this sounds very cryptic. It's just, like I said, I'm honoring what I moved through there, and I will share it in time. But
so that was our experience, and then to end it off, whilst Karis was doing her experience, I went straight from mine into hiking with the kids for an hour, and then we had to go back down that beautiful path back home to our pug that was waiting for us.
Oh yes, and we had my parents come to stay with us for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we had a lot of parents
double whammy
around. It was intense trying to integrate, or to find space to kind of unpack something that it felt unpackable. Not so unpackable, if there's such a word. There was a lot of dis-ease in trying to figure things out, or finding a conducive way to make sense of that. There were just a lot of moving parts.
We just moved. We were trying to finish our place in one shot. Also, our kids also moved schools.
We were also doing a lot of DIY. We just got a new dog. We're finishing up with clients. We're onboarding new clients. We had our folks coming in. We had both of our kids' birthdays, like, because they both, one is November, the other one's December.
So everything at once.
It was everything at once.
So we had, and the other thing is, like, for both of us and individuals, I think I can say that both of our parents really trigger our, so I mean, our parents really trigger us, especially if they're here for like longer periods of time. And this time, so they got here literally the day that we had our Bufo experience. So we were still in that, like, whoa.
Like we didn't even have time to unpack it. But it worked out.
It was
good.
So what does Bufo look like in your life now? How has that shifted for you? In terms of like how...
What do you mean, what does Bufo look like in my life now?
No, I'm saying like, how has it shifted your view on things now? So in terms of what has that shifted for you now?
I'm not scared.
You're not scared of death?
No.
You're not scared of life?
I'm not scared of death. I have reverence for life.
Yeah.
Death is easy. Death is the easy way out. Death is an inevitability. Life is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to make that fucking choice every single day when you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And the quality of your choices determines the quality of your life, the quality of your questions, the quality of your practices. And it's not just being this, David Goggins consistency machine. Super important, yes. Grit, understanding all these different principles, but it is just showing up as your best, doing your best. You're not going to always feel the most rested. You're not going to feel the most attractive every day. You're not going to, experience the best version of yourself that you know yourself to be. But if you can strive towards being that potential that you inevitably have and embody that as often as possible, the quality of your life will change. And I feel like it's just really added to those principles, mm-hmm. taking out the fear matrix that was something that was just overarching. It was that monkey on my back that my inner child held on to for a very, very long period of time. And as it frees me, I trust that it will help me possibly facilitate other individuals and just freeing themselves from that perspective in time to come.
Beautiful. I love that.
And you?
Well,
from what you've registered at this moment with your integration?
Well, it taught me to deeply trust my timing and to know that I'm doing the right things, and I just have to honor the timing of things as big. Nature does. And to not
as per your human design as well. It says that in your human design
as well. And to not try and move faster because of comparison, or to rob myself of the experience because I'm trying to do it according to someone else's standards or some conditioning that I have around things. And the other thing is to really trust my body and the messages that come through with that. And really just like it shattered my illusion of control. You don't have any control, and the authority or even just like my fear with the male authorities, it doesn't hold that same emotional charge. And just a quick one which really was so beautiful for me in healing my sexual trauma. I had an experience of being taken into a tent, and I was lying on my back in the tent, and I had all these people and spirits were like washing my body with these cloths. And there was a woman holding my head, and she said, this body is a new body. Nobody's touched this body without your consent. Nobody's so just take this back with you when you leave. And so to have that, my vessel and my temple really clean and cleared like that, out of the things that I carried with me for so long, it's still, there's a part of my mind that's still waiting for, it's like, no, like these are the things that you've lived with for so long, and sexual trauma is something that you've lived with for so long, and it's been with you and part of your identity for so long. It's going to come back, and it still hasn't. So I'm very, very grateful for that, for the things that don't take up space in my life.
So you can take up more space in your life.
Exactly. And
so I think, coming back to what this does is, in a nutshell, I think we can both agree that on that statement, it allows you to start taking up more space.
As yourself
in your life, and giving yourself grace, and just having reverence for this experience that you do have, and appreciating the ups and the downs, and just widening that perspective and really shifting your reality through that perspective. That all being said,
thank you for being my Bufo partner.
Thank you for being my Bufo partner and for sharing that experience with me. Definitely not going to run and do it again.
I'm running and doing it again.
You're running and doing it again. I will do it again, but I'm not running. So to leave you all with just something to reflect maybe on your week, here's a couple of questions that we can tie into some of the nuggets from Bufo. We're just starting with some more practicality. So what went well for you this week? So like, what were those like big hell yeses and wins that you experienced? What didn't go so well? What are the moments of learning? What did you learn from the things that didn't go so well and the things that did actually go so well? And from those things that maybe didn't go as you may have expected, what can you do differently, and how can you start looking at it from the perspective of it happening for you? And lastly, and this is from Bufo, is just how can you start taking up more space in your life?
Do you think that we could answer that as individuals in like less than, like, just very quickly?
Why?
I just think it's a cool practical way for people to really see it in practice. It doesn't need to be a long drawn out thing. Okay. I hear that and my mind goes like, this is going to be a really long practice. So just, if we could do it quickly.
Okay, so we're going to be the guinea pigs on this footnote / exercise. So Karis, you can go first. So what went well?
What went well? I've brought in someone to help me with the house, and it has been so helpful. Like I've never let someone into our home space like that.
Okay,
so,
what didn't go so well?
If I really do judge myself on it, it is that I haven't been as present as I'd love to be with the kids.
Okay, and what did you learn?
What I learned from having someone help me in our home is that I don't need to do everything by myself, and it feels good to really have support and also to support someone else's life. Okay, what I learned from not being as present with the kids is that I also need to give myself permission and grace, because I'm a single person doing many jobs, as are you, and we can only do what we can do. So that's what I learned. Compassion and support feels good.
And what will you do differently?
I will do better on structuring my days and doing the things that I can earlier in the morning, so that I have more time to spend with the kids.
And how is that all happening for you?
It was a wake-up call to see how much fluff and things that I was like wasting my energy on and my time on by like scrolling or stressing about things that I have absolutely no control on.
Yes.
And using cleaning as a control mechanism as well. So now that all that energy is freed up, yay.
And then lastly, how can you take up more space in your life?
Sharing more on Instagram and really seeing it as a sacred thing versus just being a recluse and living my life. It's been beautiful. It's been a nice break, but I think it's time for me to share some more.
Great.
Cool. And you?
So for me, what went well, I have, started implementing my new workout regime, which is rather intense but exciting. What didn't go so well, I think I just haven't really planned as much as I would have liked to on certain areas of my life. And I'm recognizing the need just to get more clarity with that, because a couple of things popped up and it was just like, okay, well, you could have done this a little bit better. You could have taken note of that and actually, instead of react, responded to it. So just seeing that. What did I learn? Really just put some time aside to plan out, look at some of those things that you don't necessarily want to look at, and really just taking accountability and responsibility there and then versus putting things off. What will I do differently? Well, plan and not waste time on that. When I have those free moments, when I've committed to doing something at a specific time, like really just getting in there and doing it, even if I am a little bit tired. So just choosing wisely of the when and the where. How is this all happening for me? Well, I think it's just showing me that I'm human. With all the planning and everything, not everything is going to go to plan, but just trying to plan with more focus and self-awareness and with grace and compassion in mind as well. Between owning a business, connecting with people, spending time with my kids, with you, with myself, looking after myself, running a household. There's lots of different hats. And then just, I know it's running a business, but like coaching and supporting and being in the healing space, it takes a fuckload out of your system. And self-care is intense.
Yeah.
It's a need. It's not a desire. It is a day-to-day practice, which happens a couple of times a day, moment to moment.
No, it is. When you operate your business at a higher level, you also make sure that you take care of yourself at a higher level.
Exactly. So, and then lastly, how can I take up more space in my life? By having more sleep.
Yeah.
So I have the energy to take up space. I'm not scared of the space. It's just having the capacity to take up as much space as I would like to. So that goes into some of my planning, which I will be implementing from today.
Well, that's exciting. And thank you so much to everyone for listening. I hope this was a helpful way of showing you how to use this practice. It doesn't need to take 5 hours. It can take you less than a minute. It can take you 2 minutes.
And it gives you perspective, and it gives you something to reflect on. And if you cannot reflect and introspect, you cannot progress. And if you're not willing to start, there's nothing to improve. So with that all being said, hopefully you learned something today, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day or evening to connect with us and listen to our stories. And may you have a beautiful week. Don't forget to embrace your journey of now. And there's always an opportunity for you to make a shift.